retreat, no surrender. We not lotion, pet or powder. We tell them no retreat, no surrender. We not lotion, pet or powder, or powder.
Yefdeyah, Yefdeyah.
Whoa. We give thanks, my brother, for the reading of our Psalms for today. You know, and since we, of course, are having so many of these issues coming forward, let's go ahead and put everything on the table, you know, because I'm almost sure that and you know me, brother, I just don't care at this point because we know that you know that time is short. So let's go ahead and lay everything out on the table. Everybody should know at this point now anyway. So just moving right into our topics, brothers and sisters. Hopefully we'll be able to move into a Selah coming forward. But even so, if ones I haven't known up until this point, you know, we'll deliver this message as the new administration of the president, of course, has visited the state of Israel. And in this visit, most interesting visit, just to say the least, and again, we have to say and put this on the record, that once again, we have these sort of leaders, and it only seems to happen to certain leaders when they actually travel internationally to certain places, that certain cities just seem to, or countries seem to erupt in violent protest. And this one, not an exception to the rule, as per the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But even so, just delivering the message here, and this comes from Al Jazeera News, as the headline reads, Trump ignores warning with quote-unquote reckless Jerusalem, article coming from Ben Dalton. And it reads, President Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. formally recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, or the state of Israel, and will begin the process of moving its embassy to the city, breaking with decades of U.S. policy. In a much-anticipated speech in Washington on Wednesday, Trump reversed decades of U.S. policy in defiance of warnings from around the world that the gesture risked creating further unrest in the Middle East. Quote, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, unquote, Trump said. Trump said he ordered the State Department to develop a plan to relocate the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He said he was not taking a position on any issues, including contested borders. He also said he intended to do everything in his power to help forge a peace deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians. In his response, Saeed Erekat, the chief Palestinian negotiator, said Trump, quote, destroyed any possibility of peace, unquote, and was pushing this region towards chaos and violence. As we read on, he is destroying all moderates in the region and giving power to extremists, Erekat told Al Jazeera. This is the most dangerous decision that any U.S. president has ever taken. Erekat said Trump had disqualified his country from any possible role in the peace process. How can he talk about peace when he dictates the future of Jerusalem before negotiations begin, in total violation of international law? Erekat said it is meaningless to have a Palestinian state without Jerusalem as its capital. The only option remaining for Palestinians, he said, is to fight for equal rights between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, the area of historic Palestine. U.S. analysts say Trump's announcement might be intended as an opening move in the administration's yet-to-be-revealed Middle East peace plan, but risks igniting a powder keg at the heart of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Jerusalem has a tendency to explode when you fool around with the status quo, unquote, Aaron David Miller, vice president at the Woodrow Wilson Center and a former Middle East advisor to the Clinton and Bush administrations. He said the president's decision could either be part of a strategic plan or a one-off born from his desire to fulfill his election campaign promise. Some might argue that the president has succeeded at extracting certain assurances from the Israeli prime minister on other permanent status issues, but needed this for cover, Miller said. I'd love to believe that there is a coherence here, but if there is, I am at a loss to understand what it is. Quoted from Miller also. The immediate grounds for Trump's announcement was the expiration of the latest 6-month waiver delaying relocation of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The 1995 Jerusalem Embassy Act requires the U.S. government to establish an embassy in Jerusalem, but allows the president to delay doing so by signing a waiver every 6 months. The waiver spares the State Department financial penalties for failing to comply with the law. Presidents Bush and Obama signed the waiver twice per year with little fanfare. However, Trump has long hinted he would deviate from his predecessors. In the lead-up to Wednesday's speech, Mustafa Barghouti, an independent Palestinian politician, told Al Jazeera, quote, "This is a reckless act from the side of the American president. This is a very dangerous act. It does not take into consideration what it means to 1.6 billion Muslims, 2.2 billion Christians, and 360 million Arabs. It will create a serious reaction and destabilize the region and definitely destabilize the situation in Palestine itself." Unquote. Brothers and sisters, we won't go on and on about this particular report because it actually is a little more extensive, but obviously one can get the picture in this particular article here from Al Jazeera, of course, which is titled "Trump Ignores Warnings with Reckless Jerusalem Move," as per quoted from Al Jazeera, and they even reference with a video on this particular report the crusade from an Arab perspective, and it's also subtitled "Unification, Saladin or Salahuddin, and the Fall of Jerusalem." So if one has ever, studied a bit of history as far as the Crusades are concerned, surely you've come across the Byzantine Empire, Byzantium, East Rome, and Western Rome, and of course the Ottoman Empire, the Islamic Empire, Northern Africa, speaking of modern-day places like Tunisia, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Egypt of today. And, it really all plays into this almost perfect storm, I would say, quote-unquote, of events seeking to take place at this juncture. But I would even so, I'd love to bring our brother in on this particular subject matter, mainly because we still are seeking to have much more reasonings on this particular subject, especially dealing with His Majesty's perspective on this. Even so, within the literary work, I forget his name at this point, but Alienation and Alliance, or Alliance and Alienation, with the perspective work that features His Majesty's work, and we definitely reference that whenever speaking about this particular region. And it plays a heavy part, even so, coming into what we're understanding and where we are within our Torah portion of studies at this very moment. But I yield for the moment because I would love to hear my brother's perspective on this before we actually even move on to our other topics. So come through, brother.
It's a very, very, very important topic, Brother Yefdeyah. I give thanks for bringing that forward and, sharing that. I think it's even in a sense, even better in this sense, this way, just to even hear the I read it and bring it forward and knowing that we already been reasoning about this. And the author's name, Haggai, like the prophet Haggai, Haggai Ehrlich. I reached for it, and when you was reading the story, the article, the news item right there, their news, bad news, I was thinking about the good news. The good news and another kind of set of numbers, 1717. That's what we may be talking about, 1717. They're talking about 1111, 911, and whatever, 411 or whatever. It's 1717. Because in Revelation 17:17 it says, for God, for Elohim has put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom to the beast until the words of Elohim Kadamawi Haile Selassie shall be fulfilled. So they ignored the warning of His Majesty. And this was very interesting. This is why they kind of hid this for so many years, in a sense. I give thanks that Haggai Ehrlich brought forth the book. I kind of wonder whether it was because we were speaking about it on the YouTube, this article he wrote, I think, in the Ethiopian, kind of one of their kind of political magazines that, certain ones following up on things, read. And he had an article in there talking about 1973 and the Yom Kippur War and how the kingdom of the King of Kings, how the imperial government of His Majesty and His Majesty broke relations with the state of Israel at that particular pivotal time based on the 1967 agreement and based on the occupation of other additional lands that His Majesty told them to fall back. And this was interesting because in other things, the Jews, or the Edomites, if you want to call them the Khazarians, the ones who are ruling that particular paradigm, it's like Esau came out first, who was wrestling for that land, and Esau kind of came out first in that. And, we still are holding on that heel of Esau as one age is going in, and one age is going out. This is where we're at right now. So it's kind of it's very interesting. And for a moment, I have to say, forget about what millions of Mohammedans or Mohammedans or Arabs or Christians or whoever, think. But it's what His Majesty said. They ignored the warning of 1936 and what happened there. They ignored the warning of 1963, what happened there. But now there's this final warning, and it's very interesting because Majesty said they would never, ever, never have peace there, right, until they fall back.